So earlier on in the video I probably just uploaded not too long ago, I realized I made a mistake. So obviously I'm not gonna leave the video up. I'm gonna redo it from scratch and also re-edit in some things I left out of the video in terms of immersion breakers in TDC. I wanted to also combine some stuff you guys mentioned that you think are immersion breakers in TDC as well. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this video, starting off with what I gave you guys as a mistake on how to get a good time in the navigation race. Okay, so here we are back at finding the way to Quarry Bay, and again, massive apologies to not showing you guys the correct way to do this. Now I'll go in the LaFerrari again, stock, don't forget. I'll show you guys exactly what we have to do in order to get a good time. And you know, I like to do this, bro, because if I make a mistake in a YouTube video, of course I'm not gonna leave it up, bro. Anyways, so all you gotta do is pretty simple. Okay, got all the traffic at the beginning. Let me guess, is gonna be a car drive on this side? No. Okay, so when you turn right, all you have to do now is keep on this highway. Like so. Just get through those two cars. Kind of misplay on wheel. I should have my sim rig set up by the end of this month though. So that is at least pretty exciting. Anyways, you stay on this highway for a pretty long time. I had to let go of the throttle there a bit. Super disappointing. And you take this little exit that you see here. That was a neutral, that's not good. And that's like a 16. A 117 is probably possible to be, sorry, 115 is probably possible, just 1 second. I'm sure I could do a lot better than that. So it is honestly, at least in a stock LaFerrari, it would be a lot easier if you upgraded it, don't get me wrong. That is definitely a fact. And I still do think that the route I took having to jump off, at least in a stock Ferrari, is less of a challenge, to be fair. But my point that I want to bring up is still the fact that some navigation races, at least not this one, but some of them do still promote the whole jumping off a you know, building thing, to be fair with you. But nonetheless, not a penalty system, because I think my words were a little bit too crucial there. Not a penalty system, but maybe like a bonus that, you know, encourages safe driving, or like you know, fair driving. Especially when matchmaking comes back, and it's a lot more, not really come back, but the matchmaking is a lot more fluid, there's a lot more player base, you know, we get more people in PvP races. You know, some of the things where, you know, you want to be competitive, sure, you know, cuts are okay and all that, but when it comes to some crazy cuts that I have seen people do in PvP races, maybe an encouragement of like, okay, like, you know, a money bonus for staying on the asphalt during the race or something like that. You know, maybe not penalty system, I don't know. But you guys let me know your thoughts on that topic in the comment section below, how we could tackle something like that. Again, I don't think it's really a priority anyways, because when we have so much more content, obviously, from navigation races to more contracts, etc, etc, etc. With that being said, you know, having to fix one section of races, I don't really think it's going to be that big of a priority, again, over other features like housing, over improving the matchmaking, stuff like that. But yeah, let's move on to another immersion breaker in TDC that I saw someone bring up in the comments, and you know, that's why I kind of wanted to make the video again, because I want to make it a lot more fleshed out compared to what I did before, and definitely add some things I cut out of it. Don't know why I cut it out, like the road width section I cut out. But let me show you another thing that I think a lot of you guys bring up in TDC, and this is from a comment. So I guess an easy one is probably how we do the animations for some cars at the moment. For example, the Bugatti Supersport at the moment, it doesn't use the actual pedal shifters on the wheel. Instead, it uses the gear shifter, which, to be fair, isn't actually it still works. The gear shifter can work like that as well. You can shift gears like that, but again, I think a lot of you guys still want to see the actual shift animation on the wheel. There's other cars that do have issues as well. For example, the Camaro, and this one haunts me every day because again, it's a weird one. Maybe one day we can go through every single car's animations and fix them, but this one is supposed to be a 6-speed manual, but we're shifting with the rev match buttons. Bro, it makes me irk every time I see it. Makes you irk, to be honest. So that's just another animation issue. I think technically on the other immersion braking thing, and this is something that we are aware of, but it's actually a lot more complicated fix. But it's the steering, as you can see. You don't really notice it on the wheel because on the wheel, your movement's basically 1-to-1 per se. But you guys can see when I turn left, the animation is behind the physics. So you can see, notice a lot when I speed up, especially. Oh, I gotta get the camera right because when you go over a certain speed, it changes. But yeah, you guys can see the wheels turning at like a different pace. Again, this is something we are aware of, but again, I think it does break the immersion, especially when you're in a cockpit. Because your car will turn before you even get like a... Now you can see it. It's weird because when you're drifting, you can see it speeds up. But... there you go. Like you can see there. It speeds. But again, we got a lot more... Yo, who's drifting? I don't know. Someone somewhere on the map is doing it. But let's go through another topic within the animations in TDUSC. I think we can easily do this if we find another manual car, for example the Porsche Carrera, and someone actually pointed this out, which is a very true thing. Now you can see the gear shifter there, the handbrake animations there, and speaking of, what we don't have that WC had was the gas pedal and the brake animation. Like you can actually see your foot going up and down. I kind of do miss that, especially for cars like here where you know you want to be able to see stuff like that. I know it's definitely an animation that Katie has done before, but anyways, what I wanted to bring up here is that when you get to a high gear, in TDU2 for example, your hand would already be on the gear shifter ready to shift. Then you were able to shift. Now the actual animation, again, it's still like sequential. The thing is, in TDU2, you just put it up once. Or you brought it back down once. So you didn't actually see them move it over to the left and up, move it down. You never got to see the actual H pattern. But you did see for third gear, they'd push it up and they would take their hand off. They wouldn't go like that. So right now you can see it's like a sequential. But in TD2, you just put your hand forward and it stays there. So that's another thing. And again, the whole seeing your hand go on the shifter as you get close to the top range, which again, you need to code something like that. It's not like, it's a whole thing. So it's not as easy as typing 1 to 3 in a calculator and finding out the answer. But still, again, these are things that can really help with the immersion and the gameplay of TDUSC. That said, I'm gonna come to a break here because I think I've kind of proved my point there. Some other animations like Active Arrow, I think, well, I don't really have much to say about that. Maybe it's something we're working on, maybe it's not. But I believe there's another immersion, although I think it's a bug, basically the fading of the roof when you take it off immediately. There's no, sorry, not these roofs, the actual convertible roofs. It's just on-off sound from the different perspective, but it needs to be like a fade as the roof slowly comes off. Just another small thing. I think Leon JHK brought that up to me at some point as well. Some other immersions for actual vehicle animations, I can't remember off the top of my head, but one thing that would be nice, especially as we fix auto clutch in TDUSC, is because if you have an H-shifter right now, and this wasn't a thing in TD2, but it was in TD1, what you were able to actually do is if you're driving your H-shifter car, you would actually be able to use your clutch and your shifter. Now, you didn't have to go into the menu, go to options, go here and turn automatic clutch off. You didn't have to go do that. But if you were going in, like, say, a Lamborghini Huracan, which obviously, or we'll just for the sake of ease, we'll go to the 4.8 pista. What you didn't have to do is go back to the menu, put auto clutch back on after you switch from the Porsche Carrera to the 4.8. It automatically chose it for you, and you're good to go. And now you're able to play with your paddle shifters on wheel. Now this is all more ideal for wheel users, not so much control users, as you'd have to switch between it. But nonetheless, it would still be a really cool feature to be able to have that realism. You know, even be able to stall your car at some point, you know, stuff like that. We've been fixing, what do you call it, launch control, because at the moment, launch control doesn't work on auto clutch on. You actually have to be in manual. Well, first thing you gotta be in manual. And if you turn auto clutch off, brake. There we go. Now, obviously, if I drive off, I don't have clutch mapped on this controller, so I can't do anything. But yeah, you guys get the point for that. So that's something we got to work on as well in terms of immersion, braking stuff. But I believe that I've covered everything there for that, at least. Let's move on to another thing, though, that can immersion brake into the USC. Okay, so we are on Hong Kong Island, and as you guys can see, we kind of have some decently large lanes. Now, the thing is, oh, I can't wait for that bug to be fixed in season 4. The one with the transmission. Anyways, so as you can see, obviously, not that many cars on the road. The lane widths, I know, have gotten some criticism on the Discord, for example. Now, the thing is, the actual width of these lanes kind of makes sense from the standpoint where you can fit a car in between them, like so. So when you're going at, you know, your 400 kilometers an hour or whatever, you still have an opportunity to kind of weave in between the traffic. Now, obviously, if these lanes were tighter, being able to go in between cars like this wouldn't really be possible, and you'd have to kind of squeeze or brake and move around them, which would change things up for sure. So there we've got a whoops, which would change things up for sure. Now, that being said, I don't think that, you know, changing the lane widths at this very point in time should be a high priority. To be honest with you guys, I know it's something that might be able to help with the immersion for sure, but again, there's so many other things that I think can improve the immersion before we go ahead and redo the whole map of basically lane widths. Now, the thing is, lane widths change wherever you are as well. As you can see, they get a lot tighter here. I mean, even in some other areas here on the southern area of Hong Kong Island, you guys can see the road widths are really tight. So it does change wherever you are. But again, you gotta also think of how you can make the experience kind of playable in a sense where, you know, you're not just stop and go traffic all the time. I think at first, before we even think about changing the lane widths, maybe we can look into improving the actual traffic density. And then after you look at traffic density, then we can see how, you know, the players are playing, see how they can move around the traffic, and then take a look at it. Because if you kind of change the lane widths now, then you go and boost up traffic, that might actually start to make things pretty challenging and also sometimes a little bit annoying. Because at the same time, although we are looking for immersion, we also want to make sure that you can still have a, you know, a natural experience when playing to the USC. Now, that being said, let's take a look at some other immersion breakers in the game before I end off this video. Now, one of the last things I want to recap is just upgrades. I kind of went on a dedicated video rant about this a while back. Not even a while back, I think it was just like a week ago or something like that. But at some points, again, I think we need to look into upgrades in TDUSC. At the moment, it's just ridiculous. Like, don't get me wrong, I get it. Upgrading your car is cool and all. But a 650 km/h pop rocket is just not the vibe or realism that we need to have for TDSC. Like, come on. And that, when we do things like that, the physics just the physics just look a little bit not as good as how they actually are to begin with, because like 600 km/h, you know, how is it supposed to handle at that speeds like that anyways? But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. There might be some other immersion things that I might have missed, and I think you guys will happily be able to let me know in the comment section below. That's the other thing, restrictions. I think another thing we need to do maybe is finding restrictions for these navigation races, because right now there isn't a single navigation race that has a restriction. And again, that just means any car, max upgrades, everything is what you're gonna have to do to be competitive. But we don't like that. We don't like this max upgrade thing. You know, I told you guys that in my other video. Upgrades is something that we need to look into for TDSC at some point, because at the moment it's a bit too over the top. And I did see some people who disagreed with me, but it was nice to know that a lot of you guys did agree with me. A lot of you missed that TDU feel of upgrades, not being able to make your Bugatti Veyron Super Sport go 600 kilometers an hour. I mean, that's also why we nerfed vehicles like the LaFerrari that was 2,000 horsepower. Season 1, I believe, is a 918 Spider, or the F12. Was the F12? I forgot what it was. I think it was the F12. But that car being able to go literally, I think it was 650 kilometers an hour, being dead ass. So there are things that, again, we need to improve in this game, and immersion breakers are for sure one of them. Now, some other immersion breakers I think some people bring up a lot are the dealerships. I know you guys talk about this a lot. Now, personally, I still kind of think I love how they did this design of the dealerships, but I also understand where people come from when they say that they're just way too open, way too big. They're not normal dealerships, and fair enough, I get you. Now again, this isn't something that should be a priority in terms of over houses and some of the fixes and stuff that we need to do for TDUSC, but it would be nice to maybe come back and revisit the design of this at some point in time. Now take a look at the design of these. I mean, come on, man. As much as I say that, like, I do give them credit for how they designed it, it is still a pretty beautiful design. I like it, but again, I know you guys are saying, you like the realistic dealership design and the casino, how we went from that futuristic design to now a realistic design. It's understandable why you guys want to go back to that. And again, there's so much open space when you have players in here as well, which you never really see a lot of players. It definitely kind of makes it feel a lot more empty. And I guess that's kind of similar to where the road width comes from as well. But let's also go to another area, an interior space that I think, can definitely need some work as well in the future if we do decide to do dealerships as well. Okay, so here we are in the workshops. Now, when these were first revealed, honestly, I was pretty interested in them, to be fair. The design, again, though, still pretty open, and unfortunately, and maybe this can happen one day, but I've never seen a full lobby of workshop. Hopefully one day as the player base numbers increase through all the content we had over season 4 and year 2. But the concept of it was still pretty cool. You walk in, you see the car, it rotates, see other players' cars. That whole concept of it, I still think is peak. And I really do hope they can keep it at some points. And to be fair, the solo hotel I think fits. For some reason, it's actually although it does look futuristic, it still has a pretty cool vibe to it. And I think that it's the main hub anyways, and it's okay to have a design like that. But yeah, again, there's other ideas you could think of where, maybe you have actual garage lifts in here. Make it smaller so it feels a lot more alive when people come in. You're right next to someone else. You don't have to walk around to the other side to, take a look at their car and stuff like that. So we're back on Ibiza again, and for the sole reason of me showing you guys an immersion breaker, and you probably already know exactly what this one is, and I still stand by it not being a priority because, well, you'll see what I mean. And actually, while I'm on my way here, another immersion breaker is traffic sometimes. I think traffic AI needs improvement sometimes. Like, they don't really follow the rules, or they get stuck behind some of the traffic people, stuff like that. But again, that's a whole other thing that we need to look into. I know some person also brought up pedestrians, and although that might be a licensing, and obviously we have to get the game, like a lot more optimized for something like that. Maybe one day we could look into that. It would be nice, I do agree. But an immersion breaker that I do have to bring up is this. Now, the thing is, I get it. Don't get me wrong, I love what KT did with Ibiza. Honestly, the level design team work on Ibiza. You guys are amazing. And I'm sure they're gonna cook for some other projects we have going on behind the scenes for year 2 as well. We're really excited for that. But that being said, I understand. Obviously, there's no other way to do it. But at some point, I do think Ibiza would be nice to expand on. Now, the thing is, people are gonna be like, yo, why don't you expand Ibiza right now, though? But the thing is, there's no point in expanding Ibiza when we have nothing to fill it with. It's just gonna be, don't get me wrong, more places to drive, it would be cool, but then there's nothing to go and see at this new area. I mean, if you think about it, Ibiza's a massive place, even just this area right here, to be fair. But when we have things like houses, more vehicles so we can probably look into another dealership. We have, you know, other things. Maybe we can bring in another vehicle type at some point. You know, there's so much more I would say we can do before we expand the map, because like when you expand the map, guys, you gotta populate it. Otherwise, this is, you know, you don't want to have something where there's nothing. You want to have something where there's something. And that's why I think that we need to expand in all other areas of TD first, you know, more contracts, houses, other things that we're working on in in year 2, and again even beyond that as well. And I'm really excited for the dev diary, because I really think that when you guys watch it, you'll understand the vision that Katie and I have and Nakan has for where we really want Test Drive to go after listening to all of your feedback and knowing what we have to do, you know. And again, I'm really excited for that, because I think you guys will enjoy it. With that being said, I think that is another immersion breaker, but again, not as serious in the moment over some other glaring issues that I wanted to mention. Another thing that is really an immersion breaker, but I still think I would love to see at some point, is a proper car wash. Now, obviously, guys, you know, I think the day and age of the sexy car wash is probably gone, and that's okay. We could have a car wash like GTA 5 has. You just drive in, it's just a regular car wash, bro, and it separates itself from the gas station, so you can fix your car at the gas station. Sure, you know, it would have been nice if it was like a small little mechanic shop you drive into and your car gets fixed and you drive out. Like the garage door opens, you drive in, garage door closes, car gets fixed, drive back out, you know. And maybe gas stations could be functional, bro. I don't know why my words are like that. But maybe gas stations could be functional at some point there as well. You can see that Ford F-150 took a very wide turn there, but sometimes traffic can work really well, and that's perfect. But again, sometimes it does get a little bit messy, especially on the roundabouts, or when it comes to turning or driving into the incorrect lane. I mean, American Truck Simulator fans say it best. Sometimes AI is stupid, and that kind of matches real life drivers, which is kind of true, to be fair. But yeah, it would be nice to see some improvements on that scale as well. Now, I think I basically covered a lot of the things, at least compared to the last video. You know, I think I took it a little bit too short. But you guys let me know in the comment section below what other immersion things you think we should bring to Test Drive and the Silicon in the future. You know, again, don't just think about, you know, the immediate present, but the future is okay as well, guys. You know, we'll listen to the community. There's other things we could do to improve this game, and I'm really excited to show you guys that future. But yeah, other than that, I'm Alex7, and I'll see you guys in another video. I'm out, guys. Peace.